Hello, my dearest friends, and only my dearest friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a video, and that's fun. I had to completely rewrite this episode, and that's not fun. Now, am I gonna come out here and tell you that Fall Guys is bad, actually? Yeah, kinda. That's a little more complicated than that. I mean, there was a journey that I went on, and I'm gonna recount it to you, and I'd like for you to come on it with me. Now, am I disappointed that the original gag I wrote for all the empty vodka bottles I've created since March is gonna go to waste and not get the limelight it deserves? Yeah, I am. But you know what? I'll survive that. I'll get through that. Anywho, our tale starts in the beginning of September. My cousin was going to be visiting for a weekend, and I was setting up things for us to do, and I knew that video games were very likely going to be on the table. Now, I am notoriously anti-multiplayer, which stems from me being notoriously anti-other people. Which, I mean, I've worked in customer service my entire career, so it was bound to happen. I ruined so many Christmases the year the Wii U came out and just wasn't available for people. And I just took that miserly reputation and applied it to the rest of my life. You remember the Wii U? The point is, I don't like to compete against my fellow man, and I could barely be arsed to cooperate with them. But since I knew the child was going to be visiting, he'd want to play some games, and I figured might as well appease him. And the people whose opinions I actually respect were talking up Fall Guys a great deal on social media, so I decided to download it, and I would call it a success. We enjoyed our time with the game, we were laughing at the erratic nature of it, and just having a good old time, and I'm very happy about that. And then he left, and I never saw him again. But after he left to do whatever it is 11-year-olds do these days, topple governments or something, I decided to keep playing Fall Guys. And to be honest, that first week was wonderful. I had nothing but nice things to say about Fall Guys. I wrote the original version of this script with just heaps of praise for Fall Guys because I was enjoying it that much. It was, in that first positive week of our relationship, completely perfect. I didn't have a bad thing to say. I couldn't get mad at it. I had tried other multiplayer games in the past that had become fads, like Rocket League or 3 rounds of Fortnite, but Fall Guys was the first multiplayer-centric game where I actually stuck around and wasn't just raging over it. And I hadn't discovered this at the time, but over the last few days, I've really been able to work this out. There's only 2 ways this could have gone. Because you see, the more you interact with something, the more familiar and knowledgeable about that thing you become. You become more acutely aware of every idiosyncrasy. You become more finely tuned into what makes the game tick. And Fall Guys is pretty limited content-wise, so that was incredibly easy to do, and it didn't take a long time to do it. So naturally, I started to notice more flaws, and that's what leads us to the outcomes. Outcome 1 is that the flaws just become tolerable, that you just accept them as part of the game because there's enough other enjoyable aspects of it to where the bad stuff is just kind of easy to ignore. The second outcome is that they stick with you, that you start to notice them more and more, and you try and push it aside, but they pile up to where they just stick in your brain and you just can't stop thinking about them. And more start piling on to where you eventually sit in a chair and tell people that this game is bad, actually. If you want to take a guess where I ended up. In my original script for this video, I had a bit where I was joking about how the only time I really got mad with this game was when I was disconnected from the server. And I even happily said that, oh, I only disconnected 5 times in a row. Should have been a sign, Chris of the past. But anyway, I put it aside at the time because I knew they were going to be releasing the Big Yeetus Anti-Cheatus update, which also implemented some fixes for server stability. So I put it out of my mind, but the servers really only got worse, and it forced me to run a little experiment with Fall Guys. I decided to take 8 hours of my day off to play 50 games of Fall Guys. Now, obviously, I took breaks in between. I mean, I'm not a crazy person or anything like that. After each game, I mapped out what round I was eliminated in, what the game type was, and what the reason for my elimination was. Do you see what this game has done to me? Like, I went from loving it to being just sort of passively upset with it to being so soured by its very existence that I would fill out a spreadsheet that gathered data on exactly why I don't like it anymore. Like, that's worse than Fortnite. At least after 3 games of Fortnite, I could just sit there and be like, huh, okay, this sucks. And then I moved on. So after 51 games, because I had to play 1 extra in order to level up, I was eliminated 20 times due to what I deemed to be my own fault. Either poor play on my part or just a straight up loss, which can sometimes happen. You miss a jump, a photo finish doesn't go your way. It happens. 4 of my eliminations were because I got griefed. 10 of my eliminations were due to server disconnects. 10 were in losses accrued through team games, and the rest of the time I made it to the final round. The round I was eliminated in the most frequently was round number 2 with 17 total eliminations, and if you were to average all of my eliminations up, it would equate to about 2.88, which we're going to round up to 3, which would tell us that I am a statistically average, middle-of-the-road Fall Guys player. Which is, to me, fine. Even at the point when I was most enamored with this game, I was never under any delusions that I was going to win a crown, and that's due to my own flaws as a person. Like, I know I'm far too impatient to win at Hexagon. Jump Showdown has way too many griefers, and I'd much prefer to blame it on them, and Fall Mountain has just never gone in my favor, although I've come heartbreakingly close multiple times. But I never expected to win, because it's hard to do. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I don't want anybody to come at me later and say the reason why I don't like this game anymore is because I didn't get good. I had no intention of ever being good. In fact, the data shows I'm statistically average, which is what I was set out to prove in the first place. Which I think makes me a massive loser. Holy shit. I think the reason this upsets me so much is because there's such an obvious, enjoyable hook to this game that was so clearly there. Like, that's why I fell in love with it in the first place. I think the social media for the game is on point. The Fall Guys Twitter was and still is an excellent follow if you're on Twitter. The special effect charity that they did was wonderful to see play out. I think they've got a really good thing going there, and I'd love to see it be built upon and continue. So, bucking tradition, I'm going to offer up some recommendations on what I think would help improve this game. Number 1, euthanize the terrible game types. I got dumped via AOL Instant Messenger once, and my heart didn't sink as much then as it does whenever I see tail tag pop up. It is a terrible game, and when the big Yeetus Anti-Cheatus update came out, which was supposed to remix a lot of stages, nothing really changed for tail tag, at least that I could see, but more so, it just blatantly doesn't fucking work half the time. I can't even tell you how many times I've been chasing somebody and I've grabbed them and the little target reticule shows up indicating that a grab has taken place, but I don't get the tail, or how many times that I have a tail and it'll just vanish to a guy that's 5 feet and to the right behind me. It's just, I don't know if it's server issues, it just barely works, and it's agony to play, and I hate it every time it comes up. But it's not the only one I hate. I think there's a lot of other bad game types too. Like, I think Perfect Match is a waste of everybody's time. Vanilla DoorDash is terrible, although I will give the remix some credit. That one is a little bit more tolerable. And I don't really care for Seesaw either. I think there's some wonky stuff going on with the physics there, where your little jelly bean's legs will just give out on their own with no real rhyme or reason, whether it's a flat surface or a tilted one, so I don't really care for that either. Number 2. This is kind of an addendum to the first one, but I'm counting it as a separate thing. Get rid of team games. I think the team games are just, oh, are they miserable. The strength of Fall Guys, to me, is on the speed of the obstacle courses. So game types like Hit Parade and Dizzy Heights and the Whirly Gig, Gate Crash. The quickness of those rounds, I think, is the real strength of the game. And that's really why I fell in love with it in the first place, because you could make it to Fall Mountain and lose. But then if you get like those 3 game types or the quick game types all in a row, you could be right back in the thick of it. And very little time has passed. And I think that's the true strength of the game. The team games are just agony to play. They go on for way, 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 way too long. And if you've got one guy on your team who's not pulling his weight, or more likely has disconnected from the server, then the entire team gets eliminated. And that's bullshit. Number 3. I hinted at this a little bit, but I'm really steadfast on this one. Disable grabbing. Just get rid of the mechanic entirely. The game types that require you to use it are garbage anyway, with the exception of the whirligig, but to call grabbing a necessity in that game type is a stretch, to say the very least. Honestly, it's only being used by griefers at this point. People aren't even completing the courses anymore. They're just hanging out to grief other people, and they're using the grab mechanic solely to do it. Every single time I get eliminated in Slime Climb or Jump Club, it's because of a griefer. And unfortunately, I don't think this one's ever going to get taken care of, because it seems like the dev team actively encouraged this style of play, which, I mean, hey, you know, some people might like to do it, but to me, I think it's a bullshit, garbage way of playing, and is one of the key reasons why I don't want to play it anymore. Number 4, implement a veto system. Now, this would be hard to do at this moment in time, because there just aren't enough game types at the moment, but once more start being added, I think this would be a good thing to implement. A lot of games have this, like especially multiplayer games where you can kind of vote on a map. Like, I remember this especially in Halo 3 multiplayer, which I played a lot back in the day. If there was a map that came out, everybody would veto Snowbound. Nobody liked Snowbound. So they put in that veto system, and I think that does really help. Or put in a voting system. If you think that my hatred of these specific game types is exclusive to me, put in a veto or a vote system and let the community decide. Number 5. Make the currency more worthwhile. The last time I logged into Fall Guys, I had like 25,000 kudos. I was leveled in the 30s, and any of the costumes or emotes that I was remotely interested in purchasing cost crowns to buy. And like I said, I never won a crown in my time playing Fall Guys. The only crowns I had were the pity ones that the game gives you for leveling up. So, and like I said, I wasn't like chomping at the bit to buy these specific costumes. I was just kind of passingly interested in them. But if you gave me like the option to have some sort of transfer system for my kudos where I could turn them into crowns, like, I think that would be a good idea, like, to do something like that, because, and the crowns, if you don't really get a lot, then you're not getting any of the costumes you might be really interested in. And I think it would be a good idea to have more stuff available instead of just a rotating stock of like 12 things. But I understand why it's there. It's upsetting, but I get it, because the priority is to make money, not make an enjoyable experience. So, hey. Hey guys, Chris in editing here. So I follow the Fall Guys Twitter, and they said that for Season 2, they're actually planning on giving out more crowns. I don't know if this was just a joke at the expense of Tim the Tatman, or if this is legit, but I did want to say that I saw that, and this could be improved in the future with more crowns being given out, or it might not be, I don't know. I just wanted to say it so that nobody would be like, oh, wait a minute, hey, Fall Guys said that they were going to improve this, so I'm mentioning it here, I know about it, there you go. Number 6. Show us some stats. People love goofy statistics. Have an option where we can go into like a menu and see little silly things like amount of time survived in certain game types, miles or kilometers run, amount of time spent being trampled, number of people trampled by, like silly little things like that. I think people would like to actually look at stuff like that, because this game is so bare bones. Like, there has to be more than just the continuous gameplay loop of play game, fail, play game, disconnect from server, play game, disconnect, which rather succinctly brings us to number 7, the servers. They're awful. This game is entirely unreliable to play. Like I said, in the experiment that I did, I got disconnected 10 times. I had the joke in my original script about 5 times, and not too long ago I tried to play again. I tried to start 11 different rounds, and I got disconnected 9 times. And the 2 times I did actually get to play, I got griefed in Slime Climb. And it was at that moment that I decided I was done. Now, I understand this game kind of blew up. It was a surprise smash hit, and as a result, the servers are probably strained due to the unexpected foot traffic in the game itself. I understand that. But Mediatonic has already released that update that was supposed to improve server stability, but they've only gotten worse. And not for nothing, I have a little bit less sympathy, because this game had ambitions of being a Battle Royale style game that had 60 players in a round at one time, and if it can't sustain that, then maybe the numbers need to be reduced, or the number of rounds need to be reduced. Hell, I would love if there was like a 3-round option that got rid of team games entirely. But I'll admit, I don't know a lot about server maintenance, and none of this could even matter. It could be something else entirely, and I'm willing to admit that. But But I will say, at the very least, if you're not going to fix the servers entirely, or if they can't be fixed entirely, at least allow the players to get their kudos and fame points if they get booted from the server. I shouldn't be penalized because the game quit on me. I'm not saying that in all of those rounds I was disconnected from the server and that I would have a crown at this point and being eliminated all those times because of the server disconnecting, that I would be more successful. I don't think that's true. Remember, the data says I'm statistically average. So, but at the very least, I'd be up a couple of levels. So, throw us a bone, is what I'm saying. But after all those disconnects, I did emphatically say on Twitter that I was all done with Fall Guys, and I am sticking by that. I'm not going back in Season 1, and it's unlikely I'll go back in Season 2. At least until the end. I might poke my head in to see the new game types, see if they're any good, see if some stuff has been improved. But, yeah, probably not. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I am very much a story game person. I like to play single-player games by myself at my own pace. It's just been the type of gamer I am, so it is what it is. But I will ascribe this credit to Fall Guys. It came the closest to breaking me from that mold, so good on ya. But the focus on griefing, wonky physics, limited game modes, and poor performance are just a little too much to keep me invested. So that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Yet another task completed in the progress bars of life. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Fall Guys. What's your favorite game type? What's your least favorite game type? I'd like to know what you all think about this game and how much you probably disagree with me, which is great, which is fine. And while you're at it down there, click that big red subscribe button. If you do, something cool will happen. You're gonna unlock the just subscribe to my channel skin, and it's gonna look like whatever you're wearing right now. My social media, books, and comic are going to be linked in the description. Follow them to salvation if you must. Whatever that means. Until next time, I've been Chris, and thank you for playing along.